All right, let's go to Borge. He's waiting patiently in the wings. Hello, George Mienie. How are you?
Hello, Garreth. Hello, Anne.
How are you doing? How are you doing, George? Nice to see you on a Friday. It's always nice to see you. When we see you, it's Friday. So, of course, everybody's happy when you pitch up and pop up on our screens. We didn't see you last week. We missed you. Where were you? Were you flying something? Were you driving a train, a truck, a boat, a wheelbarrow? What were you in charge of last week, Friday, that you couldn't be here?
We were having our quarterly strategic conference with the senior executive. So that's what I was doing. But I did
very serious.
I did another thing, Garreth, which I don't know if you've tried, or Leanne, if you've tried. Where's Ben? Ben's gone.
He's gone. No, he had to go and do some work. But George, hang on. I've never tried a quarterly strategic conference. That must be horrible.
No. Not when you're in my team. Not when you're in my team.
Conference, George. I wouldn't even know where to start with that. I'd rather drive a wheelbarrow than that.
No. It's not as bad as you think. But we did something very creative at the end. So Friday morning when I was supposed to be on the show, what I decided to do was give everybody, I got two nurses into the boardroom. And they pranced in with drips, drip stands. They pranced in with drip stands and poked everybody in the arm. And we all had a dose of jet fuel. Don't know if you've ever had jet fuel.
George, did you at least get people's permission before you injected shit in the workplace?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. All right. And what is jet fuel?
What is jet fuel?
Is it actual jet fuel? Because then they're all dead, George. Then your strategy was to kill them at the strategic conference.
You get those kinds of people, but I'm not one. So what we a couple of weeks back, probably about 4 or 5 weeks back, I got sick, and I could feel I was getting sick on the Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was on the Thursday or the Friday, I decided to try this IV bar. I don't know if you've ever been to an IV bar. I went to the IV bar and I'm like, what is the stuff inside these drips that you give people? And they gave me the range, and I chose the jet fuel, which is about, I think, 25,000 milligrams of vitamin C, magnesium, vitamin D, a whole bunch of minerals, etc. Sure. But it's straight into your vein.
Right.
And I sat there for 45 minutes with this drip, and it rehydrates you. So if you're dehydrated, it rehydrates you immediately. And you don't feel like you're Superman afterwards, but it definitely staved off what I was getting, I think.
George, I went for one of these at a place in Fourways not so long ago, and I'll tell you what, I did feel better afterwards. And it's also cool. It's really cold, and you can feel the cold liquid moving through your veins, which is kind of weird. It's sort of a strange sensation, but I do like it. I like it. So what do those cost, George? What does it cost per person?
So it ranges anywhere between 900 Rand and about 1,200 Rand, depending on where you go and who does it and the product that you buy.
Did you feel that your team were more strategically minded after they'd had the jet fuel drip?
It didn't really have a chance because it was the Friday, so we were kind of winding down till midday, and I thought the idea was, we've had a hard week. Let me give you a good weekend.
I think you should have been more selfish about this, because a greedy CEO would have given them the drip on the Monday so that their working hours are better, they're more productive, and not their time off. You don't want them to have a good weekend. You want them to work, slaves, work. Here's a drip, work. Anyway, what do you got for us in the news this morning?
Well, Garreth, there was a house found abandoned in Louisiana. Now, when I say house found abandoned, I had to show you.
In New Orleans.
So you think house abandoned, people just leave the house. No, but, in America, people transport their houses around.
Yes.
Especially so this house.
A shitty house like that, is that worth transporting anywhere? It's not even a nice house, George.
I know, but this guy decided to do a midnight flip, flits or whatever you call it, and leave the area that he was in with his house. He knocked down road signs, because you're supposed to get permission for heavy trucks to do this. Knocked down road signs, took out power lines and damaged a whole bunch of things, and then eventually stopped on the side of the road, abandoned the truck and the house.
Oh, wow.
And the cops eventually found him and arrested him, and he's got $125,000 of bail.
So George, I mean, you're the boss of understanding like anything with wheels, basically. So what kind of a truck do you need to transport a house?
An abnormal truck. You see those abnormal loads? You need one of those. So yeah, you've got it. I mean, moving a house like that is not a single person event.
No.
Yeah, you've got to have like cars ahead of you and behind you and flags and.
So apparently this guy just left this truck and the house in the middle of the road and left.
Idiot. And it's not even, I'm going to comment again, what a shit house. Like if you're going to.
Maybe it's because it was so shitty.
If you're going to move a house around, don't let it be that house. Just show us that picture again. It's a terrible looking house. Let me explain it. I'll try and, Leanne, you can describe it. You've got a very good, you've got a great ability to translate the visual into audio. Go ahead.
Well, it looks like those temporary prefabs that they put up at our school when our parents had been breeding too much and our schools became, overcrowded. It started off with a symmetrical A-line roof, but the windows have left much to be desired, as well as a very rickety cover, which is supposed to form something part of a balcony or a patio.
That's a very good description. Thank you, Leanne. I really think he could have just chopped the house up into pieces and set it on fire. I don't believe that house needed saving or being put on a horrible truck and taken somewhere. All right, what else you got for us?
So I don't know if you've heard, but Kululi's interchange, if you've ever driven through it, is very congested in the morning and rush hour and in the afternoon. So Gauteng Road Agency has now started to, they say they're at advanced stages of a 35-kilometer highway that will run east to west and link the N3, N12, and R21. And it will be the first new highway in 40 years.
See, now that is something they can name after Fikile Mbalula. It'll be the Fikile Mbalula Highway. And it would be right, because while he's transport minister, it'll start being built. I would have no problem with that.
So it looks like this highway will be called the PWV 15.
See, that's so boring. Here we got a brand new highway, and they want to give it some stupid name that sounds like a version of coronavirus, the PWV 14 or what it does. It sounds like the latest wave of coronavirus. Come on, guys, name it after Fikile. Give him something.
I agree.
Right.
So agree. And then Gareth, Justin Bieber has been blocked from buying a Ferrari. So Justin Bieber
tattoos, isn't it?
Well, no, a couple of years ago, tattoos on his car, maybe. A couple of years ago, he bought a Ferrari. This is his actual Ferrari that he bought a couple of years ago, and heavily modified it, resprayed it electric blue, did detailing on the inside with the seats, changed its wheels, and really changed this Ferrari into something else. And what Ferrari has said is that our vehicles are a work of art. and you can't do what you did to our Ferrari. So sorry, you can't buy a Ferrari again, Justin Bieber.
Good on them. I like that.
Yes, you have to have standards. It's like certain champagne brands will not allow people to post their brands when they're buying bottles in a club and spraying it on people. Keeps them a bit classier. But I like this. Some people, doesn't matter how much money you have, you can't have this. You're just too common.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, modified. You've all seen the modified vehicles in South Africa, and how I think they're terrible. They're like heavily modified things.
Well, Congo Chris says, "Oh no, poor Justin can't buy a second Ferrari. Poor him."
Poor guy. And then very finally, Gareth, there is a new way that criminals are stealing our cars.
Oh. What is
it's
this?
called a relay attack. So what the criminal does is, up to now, we've heard about the remote blocking. So when you try and lock your car with the remote, it blocks the signal and stops the doors from locking. This relay attack is they actually capture the signal, and then they store it. And your vehicle's locked. You think it's all fine. You walk away, and then they use that signal, and all they do is click a button and open your car.
Bastards. George, these guys are getting smarter and smarter, but I have a solution. You just have to have obsessive compulsive disorder like I do, and you go back and you lock and you check and you lock and you go back and you lock, and then you just get to the door of the mall and you're like, wait a second, did I lock? And you walk back and you lock. That'll mess any criminal's mind up.
Keep it old school with a key in the door.
There's a point. There's a really point.
Put the key in and turn it.
My dad has this old panel van that he refuses to get rid of, this Corsa panel van. And he dropped it off here the other day. I had to use my car. And I had to move it in the driveway. Talk about modified. Firstly, years ago, he put a Momo steering wheel on it. But it has no power steering, right? Do you know how hard it is to turn a tiny steering wheel with no power steering? Then secondly, you have to put the key in the door and then press in the knoppy like an old cigarette lighter.
Push the tit, yeah.
Yes. And thirdly, it has an old-fashioned gear lock, one of those U-shaped metal gear locks. And that stopped it from being stolen. It was outside my house one evening. They had ripped this thing apart. The only thing that was still intact was the gear lock, and that's what stopped it from being stolen.
Unreal.
The old-fashioned sometimes isn't too bad.
Sometimes it's the way to go. Yeah. So how do you avoid this?
Stick the key in and push the tit.
So how do you avoid this, Gareth? Some cars have the ability in their menus to switch off the keyless entry. So if you do have that in your menu, go and have a look in your handbook. If you do have that in your menu, you're in a high risk area, just deactivate the keyless entry.
Okay, I'll have to do that. I'm driving that fancy new C-Class of Phil's. So that thing is amazing. I mean, you could switch it on before you even get to it, so it can start warming the car up or whatever. It's phenomenal. Anyway, we will talk some more next week, George. Have an excellent weekend. Cheers, everybody. We will see you on Monday at 6 a.m. Be good. Bye-bye.